Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerJoob, and welcome back to our Garten of Banban character concept series. So in today's video, the character looking into is Stinger Flynn. So we'll go into his location, backstory, gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. And as always, I will just state that this is not definitive of what will actually happen in Chapter 3. I don't know what's going to happen in Chapter 3, nor does anybody else. This is just pure speculation and a fun story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. And last, before we start today's video, do be sure to subscribe to GamerJoob as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. Also, do be sure to leave a like on this video, as in the near future, we're going to be doing a community live stream where we're going to make our own FNAF character or our own Poppy Playtime character, so do be sure to leave a like, because if we get enough, then we'll make that happen. Alrighty everyone, well, let's get to the character concept of Stinger Flynn. So now that Garten of Banban 2 is finally released for all to play, there's a whole bunch of new areas and characters we got to see. We were introduced to the creepy spider Nab Nab. We got to see all the coloured variations of Captain Fiddles. We seen Bambalina trying to be a good teacher. The little Opila bird chicks. The creepy stop-and-go snail Slow Celine. And Banban himself. We find out that Banban has a nefarious plan in the works that includes the player. But out of all the new stuff we got to see, there's just one question that remains. Where is Stinger Flynn? Throughout the second chapter, we see a few mentions to Stinger Flynn. The first one is the puzzle that makes the player search for 8 seashells. On the wall is written, Stinger Flynn mission. Stinger Flynn likes to collect seashells in his chest. Find him 8 shells to get your prize. So that would strongly suggest that this area might have been Stinger Flynn's domain. And considering it's beach themed, that's definitely plausible. The next mention of Stinger Flynn is on the whiteboard in the room upstairs. On the whiteboard are 3 columns. Inside the columns is written, slaps, handshakes, and stings. For slaps we have 4, for handshakes we have 3, and for stings we have 10. Considering that slaps is higher than handshakes, and the stings is the highest at 10, this might suggest that Stinger Flynn isn't a friendly character. In fact, he seems to be quite hostile. And the last mention of Stinger Flynn is the handwritten letter from the children. The letter reads, Dear Mummy, I'm okay and Claire is okay. The nice jellyfish saved us from the big bird and the evil red man. We are going to the jellyfish's home. Me, Claire, jellyfish. So this letter tells us a lot. First off, we already know that the player is a parent, but this letter reveals that we might in fact be the mother of Claire and the unknown child. The letter also states that Stinger Flynn saved the 2 children from Opila Bird and Banban. But as we know from Chapter 2, being saved by one of the characters doesn't always end well. So as to if the 2 children are still with Stinger Flynn is unknown at this time. Maybe they both escaped and got away. So the last thing we see as Chapter 2 ends is the written message on the wall. It reads, no matter what, don't go down there. But it's a little too late as the player has already made their descent. And what is something that always lays down below? It could be the deep dark ocean. Maybe the player is heading down to Stinger Flynn's domain in an underwater themed area. So the gameplay section would open up with the player exiting the lift. They would find themselves walking down a number of blue coloured corridors. At the end of these corridors they come to the Deep Ocean Play Center. This was a play area that was themed around the ocean and all the animals that called it home. But as one would assume, the main character in this area was Stinger Flynn. In this play area, there's another locked door. The player needs to find the key and get through. They see on a wall another collection puzzle. The puzzle reads, Stinger Flynn has lost his tentacles. Find all 6 and collect your prize. So the player needs to find all 6 of the tentacles and pin them on Flynn's body on the wall. They need to search high and low to find all 6. Once they found all 6, the cabinet on the wall would open up, and that's where they would find the keycard for the door. They use the keycard and walk through. They come to yet another corridor, but something's wrong. All throughout the corridor are large orange tentacles hanging from the ceiling, but these don't look like the ones they collected for the puzzle. These ones looked real. So in this gameplay segment, the player needs to weave in and out of the tentacles, being careful not to get stung. If the player gets stung by one of the tentacles, it wouldn't be an immediate game over. Instead, their vision would start to distort and the character would be harder to control. The toxins would slowly wear off, but if the player hits the tentacles 2 more times, then it would be a game over. So overall, it would be best to get out of this corridor without being stung. When the player makes it to the end of the corridor, they come to yet another puzzle. They would see a wall with 3 buttons and 3 jellyfish. The player would need to hit the buttons in the right sequence to make all the jellyfish on the wall turn orange. Once they've solved the puzzle, the door would open up, and at the end of another corridor, that's when they see him. There he was, Stinger Flynn. The player notices that the children aren't with him. As the player takes a step closer, the expression on Stinger Flynn's face changes. He looks angry. The player needs to be careful when approaching him. If they get too close and make him angry, then he would reveal his mouth filled with sharp teeth. If this happens, then the player is in for a jump scare. Instead, the player needs to use their drone. If they fly into Stinger's eye, then he would cover it with his tentacles and the player would advance forward. If they do this a total of 3 times, then Stinger Flynn's eye would hurt so much that he would move out of the way. Finally, the player can walk forward and get to the next room. As they enter, they realise that the jellyfish that was in front of them wasn't the real Stinger Flynn at all. In fact, the real Stinger Flynn was standing right in front of them. He was huge, and his 2 main tentacles had a deadly sharp barb on each of them. The large Stinger Flynn couldn't talk like the other characters. He would just make a loud droning noise. In front of the player was a console of buttons. They could move their platform from left to right, and in the middle of the console was a button called dump. When the button is pressed, a large barrel of the strange liquid would fall down from a chute. Next to the dump button was an up and down button. If they pressed those buttons, they could move the chute closer to Stinger Flynn. So in this final gameplay segment, the giant Stinger Flynn will try to attack the player with their large barbed tentacle. If the player's platform gets hit by the tentacle, it would topple over and they would fall to the bottom of the pit. So they need to predict when Stinger Flynn is about to attack and move the platform out of the way. As they try to dodge Flynn's giant stingers, they also need to line up the dump chute with Flynn's big eye. After dodging right and left, they would finally have the chute in the correct position. The player presses the button and the barrel falls down and crashes into his eye. The liquid spills all over Flynn's eye and body. It burns away at his skin and causes him to retreat down to the bottom. Finally, the player has defeated the giant Stinger Flynn. A platform extends out to the player as they make their way through the doors. They move on to the next area and prepare themselves for whatever character will come next. So I think it would be really awesome to see Stinger Flynn in the next chapter of Garten of Banban. I'm not too sure what they'll do with this character, but I'm really interested to see what happens next. Out of all the characters, I think that Stinger Flynn definitely looks the creepiest. And as to how he'll act and move in this 3rd chapter, we'll just have to wait and see. Alrighty everyone, well that's what we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, do be sure to comment down below what you thought of Stinger Flynn and what you think is going to happen in Chapter 3. Also, just a reminder to leave a like, because if we get enough, then we'll be doing that community livestream, so stay tuned. Alrighty everyone, on to the next video, catch you later, bye.